Do you think you need hundreds of thousands of dollars to flip a house? You're dead wrong. My name is David Choi. I'm an 8-figure real estate investor with over $60 million in real estate assets. And today I'm going to show you exactly how to flip a house with $0 out of pocket, even if you have bad credit, no experience, or no connections. Yeah, give me that white one. Let me get that whiteboard right quick. Whiteboard day! All right, let's get it cooking, folks. Guys, these 4 strategies literally took me 8 years to fully develop and figure out, and today I'm about to just drop massive gold because these are the 4 strategies that lets me close almost any deal that's at a discount, slight discount, and just make tons and tons of profit. These 4 strategies have made me millions and millions and millions of dollars, and I'm sure that if you learn how to implement these and use these strategies, you can too with $0. Let's get cooking. Step 1. Everybody's heard about this way. It's not rocket science. It's called an assignment. Bam! Assignment. Okay? Very, very easy. Let me draw some stick figures for you. So this is you. Okay, smiley face. You make a deal and you sign a contract, a purchase and sale agreement with the seller. Smiley face. You agreed to purchase this property for $450,000. You're disclosing to the seller that either you or one of your partners are going to purchase the property, $450,000. And in this agreement, you have language in it that makes it assignable, which means that you could assign, basically sell your interest in this contract to another person, right? So boom, and then you're finding a investor, bam, smiley, happy, everyone's happy here. It's a win-win-win situation. You're finding an investor and you're signing what's called an assignment agreement that basically takes your rights to buy this property from the seller and give it to the investor for $500,000, okay? So you're paying the seller $450,000, the investor's paying $500,000. So at time of closing, it all happens in one shot, at closing, at title, the investor is effectively paying the seller their $450,000, and whatever is left over, that $500,000 minus that $450,000 is what you walk away with in profit, 50 G's. And my first wholesale deal, I made $65,000, completely changed my life. Exactly with this structure. So I'm gonna drop in the description my assignment contract that you could utilize that will completely protect you, make sure that you're covering your tail and locking investors so they're not just making promises to you that they're not delivering on. In fact, in my assignments, I have it in a way where they literally don't have an inspection period. They have to put a non-refundable deposit down. And if they don't close within a certain time frame, you can take that deposit away from them because you don't play with my money and you don't play with the seller's money. That's how we roll about here, okay? All right, number 2, let's dive into it. Okay, what, just work. Get out over here, let's get cooking. Step number 2, strategy number 2. With the seller, I'm not gonna do this stick figure thing anymore, okay? Okay, let's just say it's called a commonly known strategy as an LLC buyout. Let's say, for example, you go under contract with the seller. You're the investor, you go under contract with the seller, but for whatever reason, the seller's attorney is being a real stickler, okay? They're like, no assignability, this, that, and the fourth. It's okay, it's not the end of the world, relax. It's okay, because you have what's called an LLC buyout, or legally called a membership transfer of interest, okay? The way you structure this, and this is very important, this is why I structure my contracts the same way every single time. As the buyer on the agreement, I have it as, for my company, it's LVG Holdings or LLC to be formed, okay? So why do I have or LLC to be formed. Why do I do that? Because in the event that I get knocked out and someone tries to pull away the assignability, it's all right, because what I will do is I'll still go under contract at that $450 price. I could still find a investor to pay $500,000, okay? And instead of making the $50,000 spread through an assignment, what I could do instead is, instead of assigning the contract, I could create an LLC, or LLC before. I could create a new LLC called, let's just say the address is 123 Main Street. I could create an LLC called 123 Main Street LLC, replace my name in the agreement with the seller through a name change addendum, okay? Replacing the original person, which is your company, to this new LLC, to 123 Main Street LLC, right? You could change the name. It's a newly formed entity. And instead of assigning it through the assignment agreement, you could assign it by selling your membership interest in your LLC through an LLC buyout agreement. So instead of assigning and selling your interest in the contract, you're selling your interest in the LLC, same way that you would do, same function what you would do. You don't have to bring up $1. You do have to pay for an LLC. A new LLC might cost you $200, but now you could sell your LLC and make that $50K spread at time of closing. So at closing, the investor gets his property for $500,000, the seller gets $450,000, and you, by selling the newly formed LLC, make a $50,000 profit. See, it's pretty simple. I will also drop my template for the name change addendum, as well as my LLC buyout agreement. All right? Next strategy. It's been a long... Structure number 3. Oh man, this one is just beautiful. I don't want to drop this one, but for the folks that have been loyally following on YouTube, I will show you guys the juice. Okay, so it's called the Novation, all right? So, Novation, fancy word, okay? All it is it's a Latin word. I don't know if it actually knows if it's Latin, but it is an old legal term that basically means replacement of yourself in an agreement with a third party. So what does that mean in this particular situation? You're going under contract with the seller, smiley face, okay? This is you, smiley. This is how I should have done the first one, you in the middle, okay? But it's okay. A buyer, okay? Smiley face, all right. So you're going under contract with the seller, okay? And this is saying, let's just keep the numbers the same, $450,000. And typically with the two previous strategies, assignments and LLC buyouts, you need to get it at a pretty steep discount, so that way you could sell it to an investor at a discount and still make money. In this strategy, what's so powerful about it is that your new buyer, the one that's buying the property, isn't an investor. It's a home buyer. It's a retail buyer. It's somebody that's willing to pay full market value. They don't need to get a 25% discount on the property. They're willing to pay 105 cents on the dollar. Instead of only being able to sell this thing for $450,000, this guy might pay $550. OMG, okay? So what you do here is, it's a little bit more nuanced here, okay? But what you get here is you gotta sign a second agreement with the seller, okay? But this guy, okay, so this is the purchase and sale agreement. And in the language of this, it both has assignability and the right to replace your contract to a third-party buyer through Novation. It's all written in here. I'll drop it in here for you folks. Giving you guys somewhere to go today, okay? And then in this agreement, it's called our Equity Protection Program Agreement. In this agreement, what it allows you to do is cancel this agreement with the seller and put the buyer directly in contract with the seller with a new purchase and sale agreement. So now this guy, the seller, is going to go directly into contract with this guy, the buyer, and by canceling this one, it states in the equity protection, the Novation agreement, that you're going to make the difference between $550 what the buyer is going to pay and what the seller is selling the property for. So you're going to put a $100K consulting fee on here. And there's many ways to explain it. It's not that difficult. I actually train this strategy in massive detail to my mentees. We're not going to go into that today. I'm just going to give you guys really the high level strategies on how to make this happen, okay? So 100K consulting fee. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm making so much money in the strategy. I'm almost scared to give it away. 100K consulting fee with the retail buyer, and it's the same shebang. You go to title at closing, you're not putting up a single dollar, and instead of just making a 50K fee because you're selling to an investor, what you're doing is you're making 100,000. Okay, so that's the Novation, that's the equity protection, that's kind of the legal structuring of how to make it work. There are some people, and I do have this document as well, that not only get this agreement signed with the seller, but they'll also get like an attorney of fact, so that way the seller never has to sign a new agreement with the new buyer. It actually allows you to sign the agreement on behalf of the seller with the buyer. So they never have to worry about signing a new contract. They just need to sign these things right here. And sometimes they do it upfront, the purchase sale agreement, the equity protection program agreement, and the attorney fact. So that way they don't have to deal with the nonsense of going back and forth and negotiating terms again. And at closing, all they're gonna have to do is sign off on the deed and sign off on the closing statement. And bam, shakalaka, 100. All right, next strategy, let's get into it. You got this whole Novation structure. You have it, the exit strategy lined up. It's perfectly priced to make $100,000 selling into a retail buyer, a home buyer, an FHA buyer, a conventional buyer. What happens if the attorney goes, no. Okay, what if they say, you're not allowed to have that Novation language? In fact, I don't want my client signing the equity protection program agreement. In fact, I don't want my client to sign an attorney of fact. No. What do you do then? How do you maximize profits on this particular transaction? Well, don't worry, folks, because what you're going to do is what's called a double closing. Instead of just assigning it and not actually having to bring any cash to the table, what you're actually doing is actually having to bring cash to the table here. But don't worry, there's a ton of transactional lenders that'll charge you 1% to 2% of the total purchase price and give you the financing for you to make that deal happen. As long as they know that there's a buyer on the back end that's going to close on the property the same day that you close on it. So this is what's called A to B, B to C transaction. You're closing on day, like let's just say you close today at 3 p.m. You're going to close the same day today at 3:30 p.m. with the end buyer. Okay. So now, if you are selling it to a retail buyer, someone who's getting conventional FHA financing, the only caveat here is that you can't actually sell it to an FHA buyer because FHA financing requires what's called a seasoning fee. They have like this no flip rule, there gets flipping. So it requires you to own the property for a certain amount of time before you actually sell the property to an FHA buyer, okay? There are ways around it, like double appraisal stuff, but you really can't do double closings to FHA buyers. You have to make sure that the person buying this property is getting conventional financing. And never, ever, ever believe the loan processor or the loan officer or the buyer's agent or the buyer. They're all liars, okay? If you're doing this deal, make sure that you talk to the lender's underwriter and to verify that they, in fact, can do double closings and describe the structure to them, because I've seen some deals die, some of my students' deals die, and I can't emphasize this enough. How important it is to talk to the lender's underwriter and verifying that they understand the A to B structure. And typically you could only do these A to B, B to C structures to investors buy cash, investors buying with hard money, and conventional buyers, okay? But in this situation, if you want to make that big fat spread here, you're gonna have to sell it to a retail buyer than a conventional financing. All right. Let's dive into it. There are some caveats in addition to just doing a double closing and having to verify the underwriter, making sure that that's all good. There are some closing costs. Of course, you are paying closing costs to purchase the property, and then you again will have to pay closing costs to sell a property. Typically on the A to B side, you're gonna have to pay points to the transactional funder. You're gonna have to get title insurance. All right, and then on the back end, on the B side, you probably will have to pay transfer taxes, okay? Also, if you're working with a retail buyer, chances are you're working with a buyer's agent that brought that buyer, so you might have to pay buyer agent commission. To play it safe, it's usually like a total of 5% of the total purchase price, something around that, but typically it's 2 points, 1% on title insurance, 1% on the sales price, and then like 2% on buyer's commission, but it typically adds up to about 5%. All right, folks, that, my friends, is how you make money real estate investing with zero money down, zero money to get started, and walk away with 5 to 6 figure profits without spending a dime of your own money. If you guys got any value from this video, please comment, like, subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one.